out here in these streets, but these politics is trickling down, so it's all intertwined, man. So we got to figure out how to work.
Everybody, welcome to another edition of Politically Street. I am your community ambassador, Mr. Robin J. Anderson. First, I'm going to give my disclaimer. All right.
Okay.
Politically Street is not a politically endorsing podcast. We're here for information purposes only. Okay. We're here to spotlight people doing astounding things in our community, along with business owners and elected officials. All right. With that being said, I have a good friend of mine, Miss How you pronounce that?
Femmeblaicasso.
Blaicasso.
Yes.
Femmeblaicasso.
Yes.
Miss Sharice Kelly.
Yes. Yes.
Miss Sharice Kelly, first, I'm doing pretty good. First of all, I appreciate you coming in and blessing my podcast with your presence. And we got history, y'all. First off, before we dive into that, everybody know where you're from, where you grew up, and things like that.
Okay. Yes, my name is Sharice Kelly, Femmeblaicasso, and I grew up in Acres Homes, the 4-4, straight from Houston, Texas. I've been in Acres Homes since the 3rd grade, and basically I feel like Acres Homes raised me, because where I grew up before it really was kind of like a blur.
Of course.
And I kind of really cut my teeth on a lot of creative outlets while I was in that particular journey. Okay. And to be honest with you, my parents still live there to this day.
Okay, so shout out to the parents over there.
Right. So got my schooling from Will Rogers Elementary School to Gregory Lincoln in 4th Ward. Also went to high school for performing and visual arts, which is HSPVA. Then I also went to Prairie View A&M University, which is where we met. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. But anyway, those who's watching, this is something we're doing something a little different. We're moving around, and the podcast is going to start moving around. So that's why you don't see the band in the background. But these paintings behind me is done by Miss Sharice Kelly right now. So I want to make sure and spotlight what she's doing, y'all. So tell me, when did you get the passion to paint first?
Well, it basically it's DNA, because my father taught me how to draw, and my mother actually was a painter when way before I was even thought of. So I started drawing as a young child in about kindergarten, 1st grade. And when I was in elementary school at Will Rogers, one of the amazing things about that particular program was that we also had a art fair and science fair. And that was a school-wide competition. So every year I won 1st place in art. And then the one year I didn't do art, I actually did science. I won 1st place in science. So so when you have supportive parents
that's important. You gotta have good support. That's
that just instilling you that you have just the ability to do anything possible. It just makes all the difference in the world.
I agree. So how Sharice and I met, we call her Slim, y'all. So anyway,
I ain't Slim no more.
All of you remember this, but remember how when the first week you get down to Prairie View and all the freshmen go to the graveyard.
Yeah.
So that's where we met. We just, I guess, doing the ritual of what the incoming freshmen do at PV, y'all. So I don't know if y'all still do that. If y'all don't, y'all missing that.
Going to the slave graveyard.
Going to the slave graveyard. Yeah. So when was your first piece? Like when did you know what? Hey, let me go ahead. This is what someone want to do from here on out.
Well, I think I didn't really realize how attractive what I was doing was until I left middle school. When I was in middle school, I actually did all of the posters for the football and basketball. And I would do like the banners and stuff for the football team to run through.
Okay.
I would do all kinds of stuff.
That sucks. I mean, you do all that hard work, they bust through it.
Right. So, but I was doing all the pep rally posters and stuff like that. And my mom was like, why you doing all this work? You know, they not paying you. And I was like, look, it's okay. You know, it's coming.
Right.
Great.
Hold on.
Right. And so I went my freshman year at HSPVA. I would go back to my school because it wasn't that far. And so I went back to Gregory Lincoln, and I realized how attractive what I was doing was because they actually laminated all of my postings.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, they kept them. Like, they're respecting what I've done, and they don't, you know, they didn't just trash them and, you know, look for somebody else to do the same thing. So they felt there was some value there.
That's what's up.
And so when I went to HSPVA, I took a painting class from this lady. Shout out to Miss Siptak, changed my life. Miss Siptak taught me general things like how to take something very small and make it into something big. And it incorporates math and gridding, and you basically make a grid on the paper, and that grid you transfer to the wall. And that one lesson has carried me throughout my whole entire career of understanding, like, there is no way to not get something in proportion and create it exactly how you want to create it on the wall.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, so after Prairie View, where was Slim? What was she into?
Well,
I know you played as Deputy Sigma Theta.
Yeah, I did, but that was years later. And it came at the appropriate time. So shout out to Delta Sigma Theta, all my sorors out there. To be honest with you, Prairie View was a long period of time for me.
Right, I agree.
Right.
I know. I was going to ask you about, were you in art? Did you know like Reverend Talley and all them?
Of course.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Reverend Talley. In fact, I knew about Reverend Talley before I got to Prairie View because Reverend Talley's work was over at Blafford Gallery at U of H, on U of H's campus. And so I was exposed to Reverend Talley's work early, and then to meet him, I totally understood the type of work he was doing. He's a very positive, you know, influential person. He always giving you encouragement, words of wisdom. The amazing thing about the art department was that you had Reverend Talley and you had Mr. Dorsey.
I forgot about Mr. Dorsey.
And Mr. Dorsey was an atheist. So it was like the total opposite.
Wow.
It was like,
I didn't know that.
it was really super interesting just to watch them like interact with each other and how they kind of complement each other and bounced off of each other. And then once the art department became really under the architecture, the School of Architecture, Reverend Talley kind of stayed, Mr. Dorsey went away, and then they had some other teachers come in to kind of fulfill, you know, the roles that are necessary. So I've always kind of, I didn't know art was a possibility, even in high school. I was very afraid of, I was afraid of those commercials that would come on at night, those infomercials talking about Sunday, beautiful artwork, $25, and at the Holiday Inn. I was like, I don't want to pay $25 worth of fruit bowls.
Right.
So I didn't know what art could be, and so I thought I had to pick a profession. So I actually picked architecture in my junior year of high school.
Okay.
And so, which was totally against what my art teachers were preaching at that time. So they kind of shunned me to a certain extent because, oh, you're not going to be an artist, so we don't really have to worry ourselves with you. So I kind of like went off on my own to a certain degree. And I was extremely militant too in high school.
No, not you. I don't see that.
I was very militant. Like, you could tell me, I had family members that would give me things like Black History. They would give me Black History comic books. So I knew about Nat Love and all kinds of different heroes growing up. And that colored my art in the beginning a great deal. I was always, you know, feeling like Black people had to fight for their existence,
We've
their
been fighting
voice.
for a long time.
Yes, we have. So it wasn't fully accepted though, as far as like with my portfolio. My portfolio was kind of one-sided to where like, I need you to see me. This is me, you know, and so I kind of got shunned a little bit for that, but you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's true. You know, it's funny how stuff comes back to you. Like, I didn't know who John Biggers was until about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say. And that piece that was when you come out of alumni, and you know, I didn't know that was his. You know what I mean? And so I actually have some prints. John Biggers, FYI, I was on this little plug right there.
Right. So you do understand and recognize how amazing art is, and it's a part of the generational wealth. It's one of those jewels, one of those crown jewels, just like real estate. And it to be an artist. Well, first of all, the fact that I graduated in '94 and from high school, and here it is 2021, and I'm a full-time, full-functioning artist. This is all I do. I don't do anything else.
Wow.
That right there speaks volumes to the fact
that's
that
a blessing, because it's people out there that's been starving artists for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
right. And so I want you to eliminate that word starving
I mean, well,
out your vocabulary
you know,
when it comes to artists, because and people tell me that all the time. Oh, are you a starving artist? Nope. I love to eat. So yeah, never really just grasped hold of that. Artists have to realize is that first of all, you have to treat yourself like you're a brand.
Facts.
That brand part is really, really super important. You have to create an identity, and you're not only looking to create an identity with the way you process art, but you're also looking to create an identity with how you're recognized, how people see you, where they see you, what events are you doing? Are you doing the little mom and pop vendor events where people selling prints and for $50? Or are you doing the galas where people are selling artwork for $10,000? You have to make that choice, and you have to go after that particular realm if that's what you want to be in. So that's the only way you can, and you can't be afraid. I don't know how much time I must have lost just being afraid and realizing that it's not just about the art, it's about the business of art. So
that's real.
Yeah.
That's real. So cause I know we have about roughly 25 plus years of art that I'm trying to get everybody to see where you know.
Yeah. So honestly, Prairie View was not only like the first place where I actually sold my first piece of art for $75. Prairie View was actually the place that supported me, and I used to do the backdrops for all of the fraternities and sororities for their different pageants. So shout out to the Zeta Beta. Zoo Boys to the Kappas. They were the first ones, and actually what happened was that I came off of a trip from Canada, and a friend of mine, brother Jesse Muhammad, was Jesse Muhammad was he was doing the backdrop, and he had this long piece of paper, and he was at the very end of it, and he was like, I gotta get this done in like 3-4 days. I was like, well, you ain't gonna get it done with no paintbrush. So we went to Walmart, and we got all these spray cans, and we got that thing done. On time. Yes. And so in fact, I have a picture of that particular line that was over that particular pageant. They're in front of the banner that we created. And so after that, basically my name and number got passed around to the different fraternities and sororities, and that's really how my business started.
That's what's up.
And so I was always supported at Prairie View, whether I was on campus and painting a backdrop or I was constructing something. I always made sure to follow directions and not put holes where I wasn't supposed to put holes. So I try to respect my school, but at the same time, I think I felt like I had made it when the university paid me to do a backdrop for Panther Day on the Hill.
Oh wow.
$1,000.
Wow.
It made me $1,000. I was so happy.
I was money back then.
I was like, ooh, they paid me $1,000.
Yeah.
And so here's the crazy thing. So I had constructed the panels at my mom's house because she lives on. I mean, my mother and father live on 2 acres of land, so lots of space. Constructed the panels. I had a Nissan Xterra at the time.
Okay.
I took all the panels.
Was it black?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I took all the panels and stacked them on top of the car.
Oh wow.
And strapped them to the car. So I'm driving down 290, I'm about to go get my project done.
The old 290 or the new 290?
The old 290.
Okay.
So I'm driving down 290 here, and I hear whoo. I was like, what was that? So I get outside, my panel then broke off. Just, so I'm having to figure out how to pack all these things back up there and wrap them back up there. So I get it to the school. And I get it off the car and I get it kind of laid out in the baby dome, which is where the event was going to happen.
Okay.
And this professor walked in and saw what I was doing and knew the event was like the next day, right? So the professor said, oh, she's not going to get this done by tomorrow. What? He don't know me. So I worked all night, and crazy thing, a janitor told me something that helped me learn how to square up the panels to make sure that they were like completely square. And I worked all night, and by the next morning, Dr. Rob walked into the building, and he was like, young lady, did you do all of this? And I was like, yes sir, I did. It was me. So he was like, oh, impressive, amazing job. So I mean, just those little, moments have really helped to make me who I am.
You just never know where you're going to get the information from. Like you said, first of all, it was a Mississippi.
Yeah.
And then you had another guy that was a janitor at a school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So God can speak to anybody, you know what I mean?
God can speak through anybody, and as artists, we are lightning rods when it comes to communication, because that's what we do. We as artists, you communicate to the world emotion and your feelings, and so what you also do is you take in information, and so from that taking in of information, you become more experienced, you become well versed in certain particular processes, and you become, and believe me, it was a whole lot different back in the day when I had to walk to Acres Home Library to get my information. To now you can pull up anything on YouTube. You can pull up any process, and I'm a visual learner, so I love pulling up different processes and stopping it and really kind of writing my notes down. Okay, this is what I want to do for this, and learning how to use different materials. So I personally feel like if it wasn't for Prairie View, I wouldn't be the artist that I am today, because they taught me how not to quit.
Prairie View produces
productive people.
Hey,
all day.
So my camera person attended Tish, whatever.
That up school.
Yeah, that's cool. So
it's cool.
So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. So I've noticed how you're able to capture people like Felicia Rashad. I saw Rakim. I like that one.
Yeah.
I saw James Brown before. BB King. Where do you get the inspiration to? I mean, of course, these are all icons in our community, of course. You know what I mean? But why these people? What makes you pick these people?
Man, it's my dad. Growing up, my father is from Memphis. And if you know anything about Memphis is about the blues, and it's about Elvis Presley and Stax Records, and Motown. My dad was big on Motown, so when we would take trips to Memphis, every right before the 4th of July, so we would be there like 2 weeks before, and then we would stay up to the 4th, and then we would leave. This was like every summer for a good while. We would listen to Motown all the way there and all the way back, and it's crazy because I actually saw those tapes the other day in my dad's workshop.
Were they 8-tracks?
No, they regular cassette tapes.
Gotcha.
But I'm amazed they still around. Like
they still right. You gotta find some players.
They should be. Oh, my daddy has all the tape recorders you can find. So I think I got brainwashed over the years.
He was programming.
He was programming me to love good music, and from Martha and the Vandellas to Diana Ross. So my affection for music was honed very early, and also I also have my mother's sister was the jazz ambassador for the United States. So she was a jazz singer from Dallas, and she lived in New York. She still lives in New York. In fact, she hasn't even been back. She's actually been in Hong Kong this whole entire time of the pandemic because she couldn't come back. But she's still been working, and Deborah Davis was it for me. She was my introduction to jazz. And so with, this Motown over here and jazz over here, like, you just kind of find your way in the middle of all the other little pieces that you want to acquire. And so that included a little rock, a little, Hall & Oates, a little bit of everything.
I don't know about Hall & Oates.
Man, and I love music, and I love icons, but I also like showcasing icons, people that don't get to showcase. So I've done a Curtis Mayfield piece that got purchased, right, and that piece is in DC now. Wow. And I've done Marvin Gaye about 3-4 times because I love Marvin Gaye.
Okay, all right. So basically, I gotta get a Marvin Gaye from you. I know it. I'm going to put it on layaway, but I'm going to get it.
You're going to have to get it quick, too, because every time I do Marvin Gaye, somebody goes ahead and purchases and the piece. And it's crazy where I'm at now to go from selling your pieces for $75 to now I'm selling pieces upwards of like $2,500. I have a piece right now for $10,000. I also have this piece right here is $22,000. You determine what's your worth.
That's right.
And when you make that decision, I don't really want to know what's in your pockets. Because if you coming to me about this, that means you got it.
Right, straight up, yeah.
Right. So and I always hear in my mind, if you build it, they will come. So I'm not gonna concern myself with whether or not my piece is too expensive, or I know what it takes to make my pieces. And I put a lot of effort into them and a lot of investment on my own.
Right.
And so I really try not to take it to heart when people come and say things like, oh, well, your work is too expensive. I don't know. It's not for you.
Yeah, straight up.
It's not for you. No disrespect.
Right.
But I know that I'm making art for the individual. And I want to make sure that the people that want my art, they want my art. Like, I sold a piece this morning before.
You texted me, said that's what it be. I said, okay, well, we coming, you know what I mean? So,
right, and I sold a piece this morning, and in the last since October of last year, actually I sold 27 pieces.
Wow. Since
October of last year, all because of a good friend of mine, Keto Gentry.
I met Keto briefly, man. Shout out to Keto, shout out to my boy DJ Meek, man. I met
so
Keto
was doing promotions, and I've worked with Keto before because I used to paint live at Davenport, and that is great exposure, to be honest with you. Just being an artist and being out in the city and painting live with music behind you and people drinking drinks, and sometimes they'll buy stuff that they're not really trying to buy, but at the end of the day, they'll be like, the next morning they'll be like, did I really purchase a piece of art? Yes, you did. And I want all of my money. So
you know what, I think, because I hadn't seen you in probably about 2 or 3 years, but I went to Davenport, I think because Amanda Sapp was having something. But So that's what I read.
And so I started painting with him, and so I hadn't been painting for a little while, and I was in Dallas, and Keto called me. He was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm chilling. I'm in Dallas right now." He's like, "Well, when you get back, I need you to do bring some artwork over to this spot in 3rd Ward." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, well, I need to come look at it or something. Like, I need to know where you got my art, you know. And so it's a very intimate, cool spot. It has a total vibe. It's called Vino Lounge. It's off of 2416 Pierce Street, and it's right at the edge of right a block away from Emancipation. The new spot Ito is on the corner, and then next door is Marlowe's, and then on the end is Vino Lounge. And shout out to Justin and Tay. They just open arms welcomed me in, and we started hitting. We hit the ground running. We were selling a piece like every week and a half.
Wow.
And so I came into the spot with maybe 15 older pieces that I just had them in a closet, you know, but it was like, oh, let me get this off the floor. Let me actually give some care to these pieces. And so, I don't have any old pieces left.
Wow.
They're all gone.
Wow.
And so they've all been purchased. And
my daughter needs to watch this video, man, because like she's a natural already. They haven't been trained or anything, man. I'm like, I'm trying to tell her you can make a living by doing this.
True.
You know what I mean? But she wants to work it. I don't get
it goes both ways, because I've talked to parents that know their child has talent, and they're like, well, yeah, but she's going to PV, she's going to be an engineer. Wait a minute, how is that your decision?
Right.
Like, if that child has talent, how are you going to just push that to the side?
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean anything. God gave it to her or him. And it's important to foster that and give care to that particular entity, because there's a reason God gave it to them. And you don't know if you're taking them away from being a millionaire because they have a talent and a skill that comes naturally, and all they have to do is refine it and master it. But because it's foreign to you and it's not your forte, you're gonna push them where you want them to go.
So let me ask you a quick question. Are you doing any type of like mentoring to like people that
Yeah, I mentor. In actuality, one of my kids that I mentor, I was mentoring him at 14. He is now 21, 22 years old. I walked him through high school. He actually went to HSPVA his freshman year and then decided that wasn't for him. And I supported him no matter what. Went to his high school graduation. He told me where he wanted to go to school. We made preparations to get him there. He wanted to go to the Fashion Institute in LA. And so we made preparations to get him there. We got him the scholarships that were necessary, wrote all his recommendations, paid for his ticket to go to LA. And actually flew out to LA to make sure he was good. Like, now he actually works a side job at Chick-fil-A, but he feels comfortable there, and I'm okay with that. But he's worked in the shoe industry. He's been an assistant to another designer. So he's making his way through his craft, which is fashion design. And he told me that at 14, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. Bet, let's do it. So shout out to Justin Jelks. He's an amazing up and coming designer. I've seen a lot of his sketches and a lot of his work. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, he wasn't able to have an actual real per se graduation. So that was neither here nor there. It is what it is. I just want to see people get where they're supposed to go. Now the other part is not only about the art part, but it's also about the business part. That's the part that now I'm starting to understand needs to be addressed for young people, as far as like you gotta have a DBA, you gotta have an LLC, you gotta have an EIN, you gotta have a Dun & Bradstreet, you have to have a payday score, you have to have
we got all kind of things happening, y'all. So I'm laughing because remember when at the debate with Trump and
with Biden.
No, it wasn't Biden. It was somebody with a fly pin and fly pulling up the person's head.
Oh yeah.
So we got that same scenario.
That was with what's that boy named Pence?
Pence, yeah. So we got a Pence fly flying around here.
We do. But you know what? We're gonna roll.
We're gonna keep rolling. You know what I mean? So hey, y'all see us swatting. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
I mean, this
swat and fly. He trying to get that info too. So he want to be down with the crew. Okay.
Right.
So,
no.
But no. That's the part that we're all missing. We see the art part.
Mm-hmm.
The art part is cool, but the business of art, knowing how to advertise, and I'm not just talking about Instagram and all that stuff is great. It's amazing, to be honest with you. Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, using the Black Planet, you know what I'm saying? Using those platforms and avenues are amazing, but at the same time, can you file your taxes? Can you prove your income? Do you have a business bank account? Do you have a paydex score? Do you have a Dun & Bradstreet number? You know, are you still out here, you know, using your personal
Social Security number?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
How are you setting yourself up? Because once you set yourself up business wise, the things that are issues with your personal information are not issues with your business. So if you take a credit card per se or a line of credit and you use it up 100%, you don't get penalized with your business as you would with your personal.
Yeah.
You can't use up to what, 30%?
30%, yeah.
So it's like, well, why am I using my personal? My personal ain't gonna get me nowhere.
Yeah, that's right.
You can buy a car in your business name, you know, and they even encourage you buying a Mercedes Benz or a Tesla or something because of the weight of the vehicle. Right.
So because it's over 6,000 pounds.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So for me, it's like we need to make sure that I wish. Well, I don't know exactly what they're doing in like the school, in the College of Business with the entrepreneurship program. Are they walking out of there with a DBA, with an LLC, with the Dun & Bradstreet, with the EIN? Are they walking out with those tools so that they can go through the respective tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, to get that business credit? You know,
I don't know. That's a good question.
So you know, it's and I've always thought about, you know, even offering it for the art department, for Prairie View. If God say do it, then I'll go in that direction.
You know what? You should reach out to Keidra McIntyre, because she's in some kind of capacity program. It's all, I mean, not saying that you don't hold your weight. I know you know people up there. But because that's a good idea. You know, they're not teaching in high school, but you figure when you get to college, they're going to teach you certain things in order to succeed when you get out of college. But it's not being taught.
College was very theoretical and hypothetical. It was very much so the idea of this. You know, they've probably become a little bit more substantial now as far as like putting you in more real world situations. But at the same time, I feel like pressuring students to get careers and not be business owners is the total wrong way to go. You are creating my parents were actually entrepreneurs before they got married. So they own a business, and I'm actually in business with the guy that I'm dating now. We're launching a trucking situation, and I've been in business for myself since I was like 13 years old. Yeah, first DBA, you know, I was painting t-shirts, you know, and the first t-shirt I painted and I sold was to a young lady that worked at the Children's Museum, you know, and so there's so much possibility. I saw this one lady for her daughter's 16th birthday, she actually bought her a business. She got her the whole works of everything that she needed to start her business. And if people would understand that however many children you have, those children are little CEOs. They're little LLCs running around your house. And the sooner you develop the business side of each one of those people, I don't care if it's called Shaniqua Incorporated or Nationwide, I don't care what it's called, but the sooner you start businesses for those kids and the sooner you file taxes, income taxes for each one of those children, the sooner they can get to $100,000 quick. Super quick.
Hey, y'all know she just dropped some jewels, y'all. So I don't know what to get that. I'm just teasing, man. But no, so cause it's funny that you say that because like I think I watched a little bit Earn Your Leisure and they talk about right now everything is going toward blockchain, NFTs. So how is
man,
how you transition to that?
Honestly, that is it blows my mind. The fact that now we're going into Ethereum is the normal coin that they're using to do digital purchases of scans of your work, and it's not only the initial transaction, but you actually get paid up to 10% of
every other transaction after that.
Like maybe up to like 10 transactions after that. So to me, every artist's worth their weight in gold should be transitioning into scanning. And we're talking about you taking an actual great DPI picture of your painting or whatever and transitioning that onto one of those platforms. I think one is called OpenSea, and believe me, I'm in the process of setting all of those up.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask you.
Oh yeah.
I follow you on Instagram. I'm watching. I said, when I see you with Drake, I was like, hold on, man, wait a minute.
That was an interesting situation. So shout out to one of my biggest mentor. He's my mentor, business wise, but he's also a big supporter of me. Steve Rogers. Shout out to Steve Rogers of 5015.
Yeah, I remember Steve Rogers. Okay, yeah.
So Steve Rogers actually probably gave me one of my first big opportunities doing promotions and stuff like that. So, and we talking about back when Houston was hitting the NFL, the NBA All-Star game. It was like back to back. And so Steve Rogers actually, as I've transitioned into being an artist, he actually still supports me. So because of Steve, I actually did the first signage for Turkey Leg Hut. Because of Steve, I actually did some of the signage at Prospect Park on those big railroad cars in the parking lot. And then he's also offered me the opportunity to get close to the different artists that he's inviting to Houston for all these different events. So that's how I got to rock him. That's how I got.
But I'm glad you said it. I was wanting to know, like, man, these plugs are rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are. But at the same time, you have to know how to foster good relationships, and networking is a big part of it. So back to Drake. So it was Mother's Day, and I happened to be walking out with my mother at Grace's off of Kirby, and Steve was walking in with his mother and his daughter and his family, and so you know me, I'm always about the next move, right? So I said, well, Steve, hey, if you have any opportunities coming, let me know. I'll see what I can put together, for whatever, stars you got coming to Houston. And he said, well, it's crazy you should happen to say that because Drake will be here tomorrow. And I was like, tomorrow? Wow. Wait a minute, hold on. I need some time. So after I got over the initial shock of him saying tomorrow, I took my mom home. I prayed about it. Got a drink, and then I got to work. And I got the piece done. I started on the piece at 6 o'clock that evening. I got the piece done by 10, 11 o'clock the next morning. Sent him a picture of it. waiting for his call, and I wasn't able to actually get the piece to Drake until about maybe 1, 2 o'clock the next morning because they were at Jet Lounge, and I had to, wait until they got into a place where, and I literally went over there to Jet Lounge, took the piece and was like, well, here goes nothing,
right.
and I held the piece up in the air, and Drake was like, I was like,
yeah.
So we had this whole little exchange throughout the air, and so thank God so the guy took the piece, which I wish I had always got a picture with him and the piece, but it is what it is, that was like my first time, and so I stayed there till almost like 4 o'clock in the morning to get that picture, because I knew that picture with Drake would help to solidify the fact that, for me to just put a picture of Drake, she did a picture of Drake, but for me to have a picture with Drake and me and Drake, so that gave it legitimacy, and you always want to search for that when you're, going after or trying to solidify yourself by doing a lot of celebrity type portraiture, sir. So and then to the credit of Steve Rogers, he actually stayed with me, and he had deep cleaning at the Prospect Park that's off of Willowbrook. He had a deep cleaning the next day, so he was supposed to be back up at like 8, 7, 8 in the morning to go make sure.
Okay, so I just caught something. So you saying Steve is owner of Prospect Park?
So yeah.
I mean, I didn't know. I said, you know what I'm saying? So,
Steve, so he's one of it's a group of investors.
Gotcha.
And so he's one of the main ones that, is out there and doing his thing. And watching him all these years, watching Lisa Rogers, watching all these individuals
they were over the M-Bar.
Right.
That's what the name sounds familiar. We've seen the flyer, the Steve and Lisa. Okay, got it.
Right, but they weren't brother and sister. Everybody think they're brother and sister, but no. Those are the people that made the differences in my situation, as far as me being able to watch individuals that were very methodical in the way that they moved, and I wanted to be as such. And so I go to Steve all the time. Hey, what about this? Hey, can I do this? Hey, what about, hey, do you have an opportunity for this?
Right.
And so because of him saying, yeah, sure, no problem. And so what that made me want to do was, I want to show out. I want to put my foot in whatever I do that represents not only me, but it also represents him, because he's allowing me the opportunity.
Right.
And so, I go through I go through it all to make sure that my pieces are 100% authentic, 100% just irreproachable. Like, you cannot mess with the amount of what I put into my work. Like, I've watched other artists, and I've watched artists that are on the high end and how much they put into their work, and I've watched artists on the low end that are afraid to put as much, to step out there. And I get it. There should, you gonna have a little fear with the situation, but at the same time, you get one life, and if you really want to make an opportunity blossom and bloom, you put your all into it.
You gotta jump in.
You gotta jump in.
Man, me and Chris, we have a famous saying that you gotta grab him and jump straight up.
and for the ladies, you gotta put your big girl drawers. Gotta put your big girl drawers on.
Right. But man, we can talk pretty much the next probably 3 or 4 hours about everything that you're doing. But how can people find you on like your social media and things like that? Give them so they can know where to find you at.
Okay, well, my social media, you can find me on Instagram at AU Artworks Global. I'm also on Facebook with Artworks Unlimited LLC. You can also find me just at Charis Kelly, CHARIS Kelly KELLEY. You can also find me. You can call me. My phone number is 832-782-8795, or you can email me at Charis@AUArtworksGlobal. And but if you reach out to me on Instagram, I will get back to you at AU Artworks Global. And if you have any questions, if you're an aspiring artist, if you need some guidance, if you're looking for artwork to purchase, because the Femmeblaicasso collection is getting vast.
Hey, y'all,
It's getting vast. And you might want to catch it now.
Right.
Because I'm not promising smaller amount pictures just for the sake of doing them in the future. And I personally believe in artwork because I know artwork is a part of the wealth building process. And it's one of those things that a lot of African Americans weren't taught unless they were a part of, that upper crust, that upper echelon individuals that know about the different jewels as far as generational wealth. So I plan to be a part of that movement.
That's what's up. You're already part of it, man. I gotta say, just seeing what from like 2016, you know what I'm saying? I've been watching.
I've been pushing. I've been pushing, man. I've been pushing, and because I to be honest with you, the thing that was the catalyst that really flipped me over, and it literally flipped me over. I was a bartender for 10 years. And the last place I bartended was the Chicago Bar and Grill off of 1960. Right. And so I was coming home from there, but I had been burning the candle at both ends for a couple days, and I fell asleep at the wheel coming off at West Road.
Oh wow!
And flipped my car, and actually my mom's car. I flipped my mom's car, and I was upside down, and I walked away with a scratch on my leg, and I literally quit my job bartending the next day.
Wow.
And knew that, okay, God gave me this for a reason. He's obviously telling you. And I actually got a big commission that same week.
Wow. So
that week I flipped the car that day. I got a commission like that Wednesday, and my dad bought me a 1999 Honda Accord like that Friday or Saturday. So that was like a great week in my life, And that commission was for like $4,000 or $5,000 to do a mural at a lady's house. A lady and a gentleman, they live over there in Old Pearland. And to this day, I still talk to them. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Sedelsnick. Yes, thank you. You started it all.
Wow, they planted the seed.
Yeah, they planted the seed. And honestly, I think that it's just, I've utilized what platforms are out there. One of the biggest things that I use as an artist, especially when I'm a muralist, is I use this app called Thumbtack. And you can actually bid for projects on Thumbtack. Because of Thumbtack, I was able to get on with Mod Pizza before when Mod Pizza first started. And I found I didn't know what Mod Pizza was. I saw a project. It was in Kyle, Texas. I didn't know where Kyle, Texas was. I looked at the project and I was like, oh wow, this seems kind of interesting. And they already had a design, so I didn't have to really think about it. And so talked to the lady. The lady was like, well, it's for Mod Pizza. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. You fake it till you make it. So I got off the phone call. I went on the internet and I looked up Mod Pizza. I found an article that said Mod Pizza was getting ready to build about 64 of them in the country. And so, man, I went back to her and was like, hey, this doesn't have to be the only one. So one turned into 17.
Wow.
One turned into 17, and I've done my pizzas in Missouri. I thought, this has always been my thought process, to be able to hop on a plane, go somewhere, paint, and experience the culture of different states and places, and come back home.
That's what Blakely Street is about to do. Traveling podcast. I'm coming to a city near you. I'm coming in the universe. All right.
And that's what you have to do. I would literally put brushes in my backpack, change the underwear, and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
And that happened. That was for about a good 2 years, and then after that, I was doing more murals for HISD for like about 8 years. So I've been moving around and doing a lot of different things. But as far as like the bartending stuff was concerned, I knew that giving my energy to that situation was really against God and what He wanted for me.
Right. That makes sense.
So I've been blessed, and I'm going to continue moving forward And, you know, getting this opportunity to be on this platform is amazing as well. And I appreciate you just, you know what I'm saying, reaching out.
You've been on my radar for a while. I just didn't know how we're going to work together, what capacity, you know what I mean? So, but here it is.
Look at God.
Right.
Look at God. He gonna work it out. He gonna work it out.
Straight up, man. So, but like I said, we can talk for, you know, the next probably 2 or 3 hours, but I try to keep it in about 30 minutes or whatnot.
Okay.
So, but you know what? You have to promise to come back. We're gonna circle back around, probably trail around like maybe Christmas time or something like that. You know what I mean? So, but you got to promise to come back.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Of course.
Bet that, y'all. So y'all make sure and go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to Politically Street. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Politically Street and whatnot. So also, I gotta make sure and go to politicalstreet.org and get your shirt.
Yeah, gonna cop one of them shirts.
Get one of the shirts, y'all. They're on $25 plus shipping and handling and whatnot. So also remember that, you know, there should be no I in politics. You know what I mean? So remember that, no I in politics. So either way, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.